Hi, this is Tony Richards. We're back on Better Than Before. And in this segment, I want to talk to you about psychological triggers. You know, leaders, at least more effective leaders who take advantage of a lot of the neuroscientific principles that we've discovered in the last few years, make good use of psychological trigger devices. It's one of the simplest and most powerful tools for change that I've ever learned about or come across. A psychological trigger device is a fancy term for anything that triggers you into a different way of thinking, a different way of feeling, or a different way of behaving. It gets you off of autopilot. Did you ever have a song associated with a particular event or a particular person, and then years go by, and years go by, and maybe you're not even in that relationship anymore. Maybe you haven't visited that place in years. Maybe you haven't done that thing in a long time, but you hear that song, and then bang, it triggers all kinds of feelings, all kinds of thoughts. Well, that song was a trigger device that released the memories in your mind. And probably you wish you could go back and do it all over again. So you wanted to modify your behavior to go back and do those things. I always encourage my clients to write concepts down, say like the 3 R's that we teach, or any of the frameworks that we teach our clients. We want them to write them down and then maybe put it on a piece of paper and put it on their computer or put it on their desk, or in today's technological environment, you can put it in your phone and have a reminder pop up, and it'll trigger you to think a certain thing or do a certain thing, right? When you're doing some kind of mundane activity, all of a sudden, boom, there comes the trigger, and you were reminded to do that concept or think about that concept. And remembering to think about a concept when we're in our normal routine is the hardest part. We get home at the end of the day and we're like, oh, shoot, I missed an opportunity to do that or think about that. Now, also, I want you to know you can have negative triggers in your life as well as positive triggers. I've seen people who maybe they're divorced and they've taken their wedding ring and put it on a different finger or on a different hand or whatever. And that triggers them to think about that relationship and the fact that it's no longer around because now the ring's on a different finger. Whenever people have triggers in their life, and we all do, and when we're trying to change behavior or whatever, I recommend that they think about where's the trigger? What's triggering their subconscious mind to think about it? I mean, I caught myself the other night watching an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, and they were eating chips. You know what I wanted all of a sudden? I wanted some chips. I wanted to participate with what the group was doing. Even though that group was on television, it triggered something in me to think, oh, chips, that sounds good. I want to have some chips too. So it's a reminder that we need to go do something, or we should be thinking about something or whatever. And whatever, first of all, you need to isolate those negative triggers and then remove them, right? Your clothes can also conjure and trigger feelings and thoughts. Look in your closet. What do you hear various pieces of clothing saying to you? So you may remember the last time you wore it, or maybe you wore it to something special, or maybe a piece of clothing makes you feel a certain way. Your car, there's all kinds of triggers in your car. You get in your car, you start it up, you start going. There are things inside your car that can trigger your thoughts and also your feelings. And so effective leaders take control of their environment by putting positive triggers around them and removing the negative triggers. A trigger device is anything that triggers you to feel differently than you do right now. And so you want to use these triggers on purpose to help you get what you want. You want to walk around your house. You want to look in your closet. You want to look in your garage. You want to look in your car. You want to look around your work environment and make an assessment of what things are positive and what things are negative. And you want to try to get rid of the negative triggers whenever possible and reassociate your thoughts around some positive triggers. There was a time in my life, when I recognized that I was avoiding the uncomfortable and some of the more difficult things I knew I had to do. And it just made the day terrible. The day just drug on because I was trying to avoid doing certain things, and I was dreading it, and I was fretting over it, and I was worrying about it. And I knew if I just knocked that hard task out, my day would have more energy, creativity, and it'd be smooth sailing from there. So now I just kind of think about frogs when I have difficult things to do. If I have to eat a frog, I don't want to have to look at it all day, right? I don't want to have to think about it all day. I just want to go ahead and get it over with. So frogs work for me as a trigger to do difficult things first. What do you think would work for you?
Thank you for listening to Better Than Before with Tony Richards, a business leaders podcast powered by Clear Vision Development Group. For more resources from Tony, visit clearvisiondevelopment.com. Join us next time for another episode of Better Than Before with Tony Richards.